Better late than never. After relative silence last week about SMX details, the series and governing body released a flurry of information this week, the week leading up to the first round of SMX in Charlotte. In addition to the rider list, race structure, and prize money, the AMA stealth released an official SMX rulebook just days before the event. A few interesting changes here, so let's take a look at them in this RotoMoto React brought to you by O'Neil. The biggest one is that we finally have a well laid out list of consequences for breaking various rules. Each of the itemized penalties carry an escalating penalty for first offense, second offense, as well as third offense. Unfortunately, it does not specify the timetable that these would apply or if these will overarch into the SX and MX series as well starting next year. For something like purposely causing a red flag that results in an immediate DQ from that race, obviously a second or third offense would need to happen in a completely different round, but intentionally stopping on the track and qualifying would have you lose your first, second, and all lap times in that session, so they can stack in one event, but unclear if they would reset for the next round. The biggest little news in this section are official rules for ignoring the blue flag. A lot has been made about lappers in recent years costing the front guys time and positions, so this is a welcome change I think on all parties. However, it will be interesting to see how harshly it is enforced. Your first blue flag ignored is simply a warning, with a second and third offense resulting in a loss of 1 and 2 positions respectively. Again, unclear if this will reset each race or if offenses will. Feel free to pause or rewind the video if you want to take a full look at any of these pages. Another rule that has been added pertains to riders participating in gambling and fantasy sports, and of course, fantasy has been part of the sport for a number of years now with the likes of PulpMX Fantasy, RM Fantasy SX, as well as Moto Extreme 360 Fantasy, among others. But the advent of actual gambling is relatively new to the sport and has been creeping into the sport from multiple fronts this year. With that, we now finally have language in the rulebook barring credentialed participants from participating in any wagers. This includes, but is not limited to, riders, team owners, team managers, crew, and race officials, pretty much anybody with any power to alter any result. Riders, teams, and officials are able to play fantasy version of the Super and Motocross series. However, they are not to accept any prizes with a value in excess of $250. This is a huge blow, as privateer Travis Delnicki recently won the 2023 Yamaha YZ250F from the PulpMX Championship League, which is a humongous prize for a true blue privateer, and the sort of thing would be disallowed altogether if this rule carries over to the other series, which I kind of would expect it to. The gray area would fall into the tipping and divulging of information rule. It's common to get information relating to these fantasy games from riders and team members themselves about potential injury information, maybe bike malfunctions, and other undisclosed info. It makes me wonder how well this will be outlined and enforced with certain industry insiders participating in fantasy at a high level. They typically have privileged information not available to the public, and that could make things problematic. Another explicit addition that is missing from the regular season rulebooks is an outline on sponsorships with multiple specific categories exclusively disallowed. This includes violence and profanity, nudity, gore, bodily functions, prejudice, discrimination, drugs, extremism, militancy, politics, and competing broadcasts. Again, going to be interesting to see how they draw the lines here. Chad Reed notably signed a CBD sponsor that the series was quick to ban a few years ago before they themselves partnered with their own CBD company the next year and lifted that ban. Things like OnlyFans content creators personally supporting Logan Carnow, Solitaire Yamaha with the graphics depicting the Slayer band logo, which has imagery similar to the upside down pentagram that many associate with devil worship, as well as the faux blood drip comes to mind as something the series could put their finger on, not to mention political statements being featured as butt patches, and how they will be able to differentiate a rider or team's personal views versus what constitutes as a sponsor. Guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. A few restrictions are outlined as needing approval, however, including firearms, distilled spirits, casinos, sports betting, and CBD products. The final thing that stood out to me after a brief reading is the red flag restart rules being outlined. It is not that unlike what we have already seen in Supercross, but that in itself is news after the controversy that we witnessed at Budds Creek when a red flag restart with 15 minutes of racing already in the bag was a complete restart, albeit with only 15 minutes left to go. That wiped out an 8-second lead for Hayden Deegan, which led to him being involved in a first turn pileup as a result. I assume that the SMX going this route also means we will see the outdoor series follow suit. It is a rarely used role to begin with outdoors, which may be why it remained untouched for such a long period of time. The rulebook itself is 87 pages and a very dry read, so I am sure there are a few things that I glossed over, so stay tuned for more details. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and like the video if you are still impatiently awaiting on the Team USA announcement. Thanks as always for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. Keep it pinned to the weekend.